So I've talked about a lot of Pixar games, but today I'm going to be talking about the very first one. That's right, Toy Story, the video game based on the very first Pixar movie as well as the first computer animated movie, and this is going to be interesting since this is not the typical Pixar teen video game we're all used to for a couple reasons. When it wasn't released on PlayStation, Xbox or any of the big consoles, it was the first and only one to be released on the old school systems like Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Genesis, which is fitting since Sega helped develop this game. But the main developer was Traveller's Tales, and Choo 2 instead of a 3D platformer where you can go forward, left, right and back. This is a 2D platformer along the lines of Sonic or Super Mario Bros. And this is honestly, in my opinion, a decision with a mixed result. On one hand, it looks really good and captures the world of Toy Story, and the models look a lot better than the ones in Toy Story 2. But on the other hand, it makes the game a lot harder, and like a lot of other people said, this is the biggest problem with this game. There's a reasonable and acceptable amount of difficulty when it comes to making a video game, and this took the difficulty way too far. I'm not saying it should be easy, but it should be a little bit fairer. Like, one big issue is there are very little one-ups in this game. You have to get pretty far in the game before you find one. There's one in the 3rd level, but other than that you won't find any until one of the harder levels, which I think is one of the Sid's Room levels, and that should not be the case. There should be a reasonable amount of one-ups played here and there. You don't have to do it in every level, but maybe every 2 or 3 levels. Most of the levels themselves are a mixed result as well, like some of them are pretty enjoyable, like the level where you have to escape the house or when you have to sneak around Pizza Planet because of the presentation, as well as some fun and clever gameplay. The controls are pretty solid for the most part, the moves are pretty cool as well as creative. I like how Woody can use his pull string to swing from stuff as well as stun enemies, which some of them are pretty lame, like these trains are not threatening at all. The planes and choppers I understand, but the trains look way too innocent. The RC levels are pretty difficult. The controls can be very wonky sometimes as well as frustrating, especially when I miss something and have to turn around multiple times. The levels where you go 3D are pretty cool, although it shows how dated this game is, and looks kinda bad. But this game came out in 1995, so that's expected. As for the boss battles, they are honestly fine. A couple of them are Buzz-centric battles. One is a Nightmare Buzz, which is literally the title of the level, as well as a level that takes place in Woody's head, and I'm guessing this was a deleted concept from the original movie, because it never happened in the first movie. Second one was the Battle at the gas station, which is pretty frustrating, especially when Buzz spins and jumps. And the third is with the claw machine, which, it makes sense. Strangely, there isn't a boss battle for Sid or Scud. You'd think there would be since they are the main antagonists of the movie, but they probably wouldn't be that fun to fight anyway. I don't think I need to review the plot, since it obviously follows the plot of the movie with a few deviations, but that's to be expected. So overall, Toy Story is a okay game. It's certainly not as good as the other Pixar games, but it's nowhere near as boring or shit as the Up game or WALL-E. It's a middle-of-the-road game that if you really want to try, you'll be frustrated by the difficulty of the levels, but if you're really determined and inclined to complete this game like I am, then it's not the worst thing to play. But in my opinion, the perfect Pixar game is light years away to infinity and beyond.